So, guys, the Giants rookies have officially reported to training camp, and now the real work begins. Over the next few days, every rookie will be fighting to prove they deserve a role before the veterans arrive and the full competition gets underway. But not every rookie enters camp with the same expectations. A few of them are already being viewed as players who could make an immediate impact and help shape the Giants' 2026 season from day one. So, let me break down the top Giants rookies who have the best chance to become real difference makers this year. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's start with the guy everybody wants to talk about first, and that's linebacker Arvell Reese. Look, the potential on this kid is honestly through the roof, but I think we need to be realistic about how they bring him along. He's going to be a starter, no doubt about that, but early on you might see him sub in and out depending on the personnel the Giants are running. They've got Abdul Carter, and I think they're going to lean on him a bit more on the inside until Arvell Reese fully grasps the defense and can go out there and play fast without hesitating. That's just how it works with rookies at his position, especially one who's being asked to move around as much as he is. And that's the thing, he's not just going to sit in one spot. The coaching staff has already said he'll be all over the place, lining up as the will linebacker but also showing up in different spots depending on the matchup. What's interesting is a lot of that responsibility should feel somewhat familiar to him, especially early in the season, because you're going to see him used heavily on third downs. If a team likes throwing the ball to their running backs out of the backfield, or if they roll out multiple tight ends, that's exactly where he's going to get tested first. Once he's matched up on a tight end or a pass-catching back, coaches want to see how he handles down and distance situations before they hand him the keys full-time. So, honestly, if he's not out there as a full-time starter in week 1, don't panic and don't call it a red flag. The Giants have enough talent at that position to bring him along the smart way, and by the middle of the season, I fully expect Arvell Reese to be holding down that role on his own. What really excites me is that even though he's being asked to learn a new system, a lot of what they want from him should look familiar because of what he already did back at Ohio State. That kind of carryover matters a ton for a rookie linebacker trying to process everything at NFL speed. Once the pads come on and things slow down for him mentally, I think we're going to see just how disruptive he can be sideline to sideline. Now, let's shift over to the other first-round pick, Francis Mauigoa, because this one's a completely different kind of transition. He's moving from tackle to guard, and look, he's already shown he can do it in practice. But practice speed and game speed are two very different things. What I like about him is the physical part is already there. His size, his footwork, his hand placement, his core strength, none of that is really in question. The bigger challenge is getting used to facing that kind of talent every single play, not just once or twice a game like you'd see in college. Think about it this way. Going against guys like Rueben, Bain, or Ahmad Moten, every single rep is a totally different challenge than seeing one standout defensive lineman on your schedule a couple times a season. That consistency is where the real learning curve is going to show up. But here's the part that actually works in his favor. His experience at tackle, especially on the right side, should help him adjust to the speed on the inside quicker than most rookies making that same switch. He's already faced quicker, shiftier guys on the edge, so applying that instinct to the interior isn't as big of a leap as people think. Nowadays, pass rushers come from both sides pretty much equally, so having that tackle background gives him a foundation most interior converts simply don't have walking into their rookie year. Put all of that together, and there's a real belief he can hit the ground running once training camp shifts into live reps. Then moving on to the second-round pick, Colton Hood. I think there's a real chance he starts right away. I know a lot of people assume he needs time to develop, but from what came out of OTAs and minicamp, the buzz around him has been loud. He's been explosive closing on the football, and he's aggressive attacking the ball at its highest point, which is exactly the kind of trait that gets a young corner on the field early. Now, he is going to be in a battle with Greg Newsome, who's obviously the more established veteran, so there's no rush to throw Colton Hood into the fire immediately. But it's hard to keep a talented player like that on the sideline for too long, especially with the way turnovers have been an issue for this defense. Think about this, the Giants only had a handful of interceptions over the past 2 seasons, and that number was actually lower than some of the other teams in the area. That's a real problem. But this spring, the secondary was picking off passes at a rate we honestly haven't seen from this group in a long time. If Hood keeps showing he can turn the ball over, he's going to force his way onto the field no matter what the depth chart says. The coaching staff has made it clear they want defensive backs who play with tenacity and attack the football, and that's exactly the identity Hood brings. We still don't know much about his tackling since pads weren't on during the spring, but in terms of coverage instincts and ball skills, he already looks like a guy who's ready to contribute early. Not a project sitting behind a veteran for a year or two. Alright, let's talk about the 6th-round picks now, because there's more here than people realize. First up, J.C. Davis, the offensive lineman. This guy is versatile, he can play guard, tackle, and even some center if needed. Most people expect his long-term home to be at guard, but the value here is that he can be plugged in anywhere if there's an injury or if the coaches want to test him in different spots during camp. And if he handles that well, that's a guy who's going to dress on game day no matter what just because of the flexibility he brings. Looking further out, if he's holding up well at guard or center this summer, some people already see him as a potential answer at left guard down the road, especially with some of the current guys only on short-term deals. The coaching staff loves throwing situations at guys like this during camp, pulling him at center one snap and sliding him out to tackle the next just to see how he handles the sudden change. If J.C. Davis competes well across all three spots, that's the kind of versatility that basically guarantees him a spot on the roster come final cuts. Next is Bobby Jamison-Travis, and I think this is one of the more underrated names in the class. He's viewed as a future piece at nose tackle, but he's not walking into a starting job right away, and that's actually a good thing for him. With veterans already in that room, he gets the chance to ease in as a rotational guy instead of being rushed into a role he's not ready for. But that also means he can't get comfortable sitting behind guys on the depth chart. He has to make the most of every single rep he gets, and if he brings the same kind of energy that turned heads during All-Star Week, he's got a real shot at working his way into the rotation faster than expected. There's also some intrigue about his ability to collapse the pocket since he's built low and strong and does a good job attacking a blocker's leverage right off the snap. He might not rack up sacks the way an edge rusher would, but pushing the pocket from the interior still creates pressure that shows up on tape. And that's a trait that could speed up his path onto the field a lot faster than people expect from a day 3 nose tackle. Then you've got Jack Kelly, the last pick of this draft class, and honestly, don't sleep on this guy. He's not walking in expected to be a day 1 starter, but he's got the tools to be a real problem on special teams. He's got the athleticism to cover backs out of the backfield and run and chase in space, which makes him a natural fit as a sub-package piece early in his career. His tape has turned heads, and special teams is usually the fastest way for a late-round rookie to carve out a role and stick around. Okay, now, let's talk about a couple of undrafted guys worth watching. Ryan Schernecke is one of them, and what stands out is his size combined with his skill set, rare for a guy coming from a smaller program. He turned heads during All-Star Week going up against tougher competition, and the coaching staff already has him marked as a developmental piece worth keeping an eye on. And then there's Damon Bankston, who brings serious speed to the table and a real knack for breaking off big returns. If he stands out this summer, that kickoff return job is very much up for grabs. And a rookie who can flip field position on a single play is the kind of guy who quietly forces his way onto a 53-man roster. So, when you step back and look at this whole rookie class, there's a clear pattern here. 2 first-rounders in Arvell Reese and Mauigoa are being brought along the right way, instead of being rushed a second-rounder in Colton Hood, who might force his way into the lineup faster than expected, and a group of day 3 picks with a legitimate path to impact through special teams and depth roles. That's an encouraging sign for how this front office attacked the draft this year. It's not just star power at the top, it's depth that can actually contribute once the pads come on. Right now, this class feels like it's got everything you want. Arvell Reese and Mauigoa give you long-term building blocks up front, and at linebacker, Colton Hood could be a day 1 difference maker in the secondary. And a group of day 3 guys all have a real shot at sticking around through special teams and versatility. Training camp will answer these questions once real contact starts, and this rookie class has more sneaky impact players than people are giving them credit for. Which one of these guys are you most excited to watch once the pads come on? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss our training camp coverage as it rolls in.